Welcome to Happily Holistic. I'm Amy Lee Mercury, and I'm a medical intuitive with 20 years of experience. I've written 15 books on health and wellness. If you've had a medical intuitive session with me, you know that the thoughts and emotions within you, what has been passed down from your ancestors, and everything that surrounds you can impact your well-being. In this podcast, we touch on my favorite ways for you to improve your health and feel more joy. We dive deeply into everything health and wellness with a big dash of spirituality and a sprinkle of business. We spotlight the uplifting and the positive and share the secret ways top wellness authors and celebrities get inspired, stay healthy, and enjoy this beautiful life. I can't wait to get happily holistic with you today. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Happily Holistic. I'm so excited because we have Deanna Minich here with us today. Hi, Deanna.
Hi, Amy. Good to be here with you.
I'm so excited you're here. So I am
too. We just had so much time catching up in the intro there, so it's kind of like we're on the same wavelength.
Oh, we are. I know. I kind of had a feeling we would be. This is the first time Deanna and I have met, sort of, virtually, and we just were right on the same wavelength right away. So I'm going to tell our audience all about you. They probably know. I found Deanna, I had seen her books, and also I just really loved her social media and her Instagram and her graphics, which I'm learning that she makes herself in sort of channels, which you'll get to hear about most likely. And they were so beautiful. And I was like, I need to have her on the podcast. And here we are. So I'm going to tell you all about Deanna. She is a nutrition researcher, educator, and functional medicine trained clinician with a unique approach to nutrition that combines physiology and psychology. She is the author of 6 books on nutrition, wellness, and psychology, and is passionate about helping others live well using therapeutic lifestyle changes. Dr. Minich's recent books are The Rainbow Diet and Whole Detox. And she has, it looks like, 7 beautiful books here. Nourish Your Whole Self, The Rainbow Diet, The Whole Detox, Quantum Supplements, Total Health and Wellness Makeover, Vitamins, Minerals, and Herbs. We should discuss that one too. Quantum Healing, Chakra Foods for Optimum Health, and the A to Z Guide to Food Additives, which I think is very interesting and want to buy. She has more than 40 published scientific articles in journals such as Nutrients, Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism, and Nutrition Reviews. She has many programs you can check out on her site, and she serves on the Institute of Functional Medicine's Nutrition Advisory Board and Curriculum Committee, in addition to being a faculty member. She also is currently serving on the board of directors for the American Nutrition Association. Her academic background is in nutritional science, including a master's degree in human nutrition and dietetics, and a PhD in medical sciences, nutrition. She has all kinds of things, and she teaches for the graduate program in human nutrition and functional medicine at the University of Western States. She's a fellow of the American College of Nutrition and a certified nutrition specialist. So she's got a lot of amazing knowledge to share with us, and I'm very excited she's here with us.
Wow, Amy, you read my whole bio. That's pretty, I hope people are still with us and not falling asleep.
They need to know what a qualified doctor you are. And my assistant does an amazing job putting these things together for me. So I love it. And I think it's nice for us to know, part of what Deanna and I were talking about before we pushed record and we said, we should be recording this, is that she does combine spirituality and science. And I think it's good for everybody to see that that's possible and have that background of how you began with all of this, and then have that to know how to sort of synthesize it with what we chat about. So
Yeah. I think science is just a pursuit of like looking for answers, right? It's
I
just
agree.
like, and spirituality is the same thing. It's like the
I agree.
pursuit of like, what is the meaning of life? What is something big?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
as I became more into science, I realized that life is very spiritual. There are things you cannot
Yeah.
explain.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think as a medical intuitive, my quest has been to figure out how things work. And my whole life, that's been my quest, how do things work? And then how do I fix them? And how do I reverse engineer them from where they are to get them where I want to be?
Yeah. Or even to examine root causes.
Yes.
That's so important because many people have diagnoses or they have symptoms and they just connect to the symptom. They say, oh, I have headaches.
Yeah.
But there can be many different root causes.
Oh my gosh.
So like, how do you like drill into the rabbit hole?
Yes.
And that's having a more scientific mind as well as a more intuitive spirit combined, because science alone probably can't solve it all. It'll solve most of it.
Yeah.
Or some of it. And then there's the spiritual side of where you have to let go. There's meditation, there's prayer, there's really tapping in, kind of letting go of the information that can be so essential.
Absolutely. So how did you start on this journey 20 years ago? I mean, I know you have your degrees, but was the spiritual side always part of it for you, or did that come in later?
When I was 7, I wanted to be a nun who was a journalist.
We would have been friends as kids. Let me just tell you. We were very
well. I went to Catholic school and I loved school. I mean, my parents were not like my teachers. My teachers at school were my teachers. And I actually really enjoyed the Catholic tradition. Many people dismiss it or they have resistance to it. I found it very beautiful. And I had incredible teachers. Like I still to this day, even though my parents are no longer Catholic, I thank them profusely for sending me into that rivulet. Like I didn't have, teachers that were stodgy and stuck and condemning and disciplinary. I mean, yes, good, healthy discipline, but not like some people describe that they had experiences. So I wanted to be that. I wanted to be the teacher who was also like devoted in their spiritual realm. Yeah. So I always had that calling. So when you ask me, when did I know? I would say
you knew then.
7. I knew like I remember we had an assignment at school where we had to talk about what we wanted to be. And I wrote journalist nun.
I love it. I love it. We would have been friends. We would have been good school friends. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to know how black holes worked, even in preschool. That was what I wanted to know, how do black holes work, and then what everything is made of. And it's interesting because, of course, now I'm a medical intuitive, and that's what I look at, like drilling down to what's causing the problem and how do we fix it, basically. And I always had like what I used to call my atomic vision. So I would see these things, especially outside, what everything was made of. I could see it. And it was that very thing, understanding the existential questions of existence that are not even really fully knowable. And then the science. And we would have been fun little friends, I think.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, as I went on my journey, I got deeper into science, but then I took my first yoga class at the age of 19, and that really turned me on to other traditions. And even though I grew up Catholic, I took a world religions course in college, and then I was like, yes, there's something right about this. It felt really good. And then from there, the science and spirituality got mingled up even more. It was like a braid. It was science, spirituality, and I would say art. Because the things that I'm very drawn to is color. And color was my healing process. Absolutely. And I knew about chakras through yoga, but that wasn't the sole impetus. I was feeling like there's something more with color that is healing for people. Colors of food, colors in the room,
absolutely.
Colors that you like, colors you don't like.
Absolutely.
I do not like those colors.
So much.
Yeah. So I got into that more from my own healing perspective.
Yes. It's interesting because from a medical intuitive perspective, back in the the early 2000s, I began to really have I usually have little sections of time where I understand different things. We all probably do, and through clients. And there was a big section on the vibration of color and the way that it was intrinsically interwoven with the function of our mitochondria. And, seeing that, and for me, I have synesthesia. So that gives color a new dimension because the senses mix and do a lot of interesting things. And that's part of why I can be a medical intuitive, because I can feel, okay, I found the root cause. This is there's a taste, there's a frequency, there's a something that we need to plug in to reverse whatever the problem is. The cell membrane is incorrectly ionized or some weird thing. And then I can see the plant or whatever is going to make that happen. And with color, there's so much beyond just what we're seeing with our eyes. What is happening from a neurological standpoint? What's happening in the brain? What's happening in the body? I think, I want to hear your take on it, because to me, it's like when we're viewing color, there's a ripple of effects that occur physiologically.
Absolutely. And I think that vision is like a low-hanging fruit. Vision is not it's kind of like music, right? Like we can listen with our ears or we can listen with our cells.
Yes.
When we listen with our cells, it's vibration. When we listen with our ears, it'd be music. So similarly with color, we can color with our eyes, but we can also feel color. We can feel what's around, like the vibration of color in a certain room. Or I know for me that the color that I didn't like actually became my biggest teacher.
Ooh.
The color I did not like was pink orange. It was kind of those two.
Yeah, it's kind of coral. You did.
Never liked it. But what was weird, Amy, was that so when I was in my late 20s, I started painting even more, because it was just, I was having a lot of stress, and I started painting these very vivid, vibrant colors.
Yeah.
Put them up all around me. It was almost like they were nutrition. They were something.
Me too. I have channeled paintings that are specifically hung for what I need in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In that art, that color. So, but I didn't see it that way. Like in my late 20s, I had a lot of reproductive issues, a lot of issues with sacral chakra.
Yes.
It was in my 30s when I met my husband, who is an acupuncturist. He said to me, he said, Deanna, I think you're painting your ovaries and your uterus and putting it all over our house.
Wow.
And I didn't even see, I was making consistent things of swirls with a and all these orange.
Wow. You were repatterning them.
Yes.
Wow.
Perhaps I was repatterning. I would also think I was dialoguing. There was no way for me to get into the pelvic floor, into my conscious awareness. It had to be done in a more energetic vibration way, through color. Color just took me. And long story short, I resolved my endometriosis. I had a blocked fallopian tube because of that endometriosis and all of the adhesions on the left side, my feminine side. I don't know if it was because of all of the paintings and the things I was doing. I was doing so much. I was doing nutrition and body work and Mayan abdominal massage.
You were good. I was thinking about that would be.
You name it. I probably have done it.
Tried it.
And so I think that my last straw was I need to make a bunch of art. I need to actually dialogue with my ovaries and uterus.
Yes.
And then show them to people. So I did have an art gallery showing where people came and viewed my ovaries and uterus, which, it's kind of like chakras. You don't have to say that certain things are chakra related, but yet the people that know chakras will know that it's.
Well, no. Yeah.
Similarly with my art, it was it's not like I spelled out okay, this one is conception in my uterus, or this one is great. But yet, if you look at it, you're going to see, if you're a woman and you're doing things, you would say, oh,
you might feel it.
thinking. Like some people say like, oh, Georgia O'Keeffe-ish, like, they sense that kind of energy of like flowery, sensual imagery, which perhaps back to my Catholic upbringing, there wasn't so much of that.
Yes.
There was a deficiency of the sacral, of the orange, of pink, of being a woman, woman in her authority, right?
Yes.
And
did those warm tones come into the paintings eventually? Those corals?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I wish, they're still on our walls. So
I bet. Just different room.
Just right here. But I do have them on my social media. So like on my Instagram.
Oh, good. We can look.
You'll see some organic paintings on there and those be mine. And I would say if they're mine or not.
Oh, that's really interesting. And I love that power of art to heal. I feel like I discovered that when I was about 19. I had started training with my medicine teacher, and same thing for me, yoga and then Reiki like opened everything up. Although I don't know, I was always seeing things, but I didn't have any words for it. And I remember I had a breakup and I did this piece of art. It was those colors, by the way. The background was those colors. It was all about my own reproductive issues. And it was called Fragmented with Patches. And I had glued fabric onto it. And it was, I feel like it was the before. And then, my journey for that, however many years, eventually like healed that. It didn't look bad. I mean, it was a nice looking painting. So you wouldn't feel like, oh, this has a bad frequency or something. But in retrospect, it was the areas probably of the uterus ovaries that had the patches that needed. Yeah.
True. And it's so nice to actually validate, because being science and spirit, like I would go and get an ultrasound of my uterus and like, so like I was tracking on the science level while I was also doing the art spiritual.
Amazing.
And eventually my gynecologist was like, what are you doing? She's like, we rarely have hydrosalpinxes clear up. Hydrosalpinx is the fallopian tube fills with fluid.
Oh.
So that happened to me where we had to monitor that. And then it resolved. And then she's like, what did you do differently? And I told her, I said, I made art. I painted a lot. And she goes, whatever you're doing, she didn't dismiss it.
Yeah.
In fact, another gynecologist that I was telling this story to, she's like, you should write up your case.
Yes, you should write up your case on that. Absolutely. We need to enter these things into the cultural vernacular. Even, the right moment, the right person, then they find it. And, the fireworks of awareness.
It's good. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that a woman with endometriosis will be healed by making art. Because when I tell that story, many women will say to me, like, how big was the canvas? What kind of paints? And I'm like, it was the final key that opened the door. Like I had many attempts into that. It kind of was opening, but something unlocked with the art that, and this is kind of getting us back into color, right? Like how does color actually heal? And look at the chakras and look at the color designations for each of them. So there was that. But I started just to kind of do my own thing with color, realizing like, color is like a nutrient for the soul. Color is, it's feeding us. And, being that I'm in nutrition, often we hear food is medicine. I put out my own phrase that was color. It's the whole color foods that are truly medicine because they are in nature. And that's feeding us at the level of our eyes, our bodies, our skin, taking in that color in a bigger, broader sense.
Absolutely.
We just can't by the quantum right now.
Agreed. Very limitedly, if at all.
We'll be right back after this short break. Hey there, it's Amy Lee Mercury. People have been asking what to expect when you book a medical intuitive session with me. Whether you have had a medical intuitive session before or are completely new to the idea, working with a medical intuitive may be right for you if you are looking to uncover the root cause of one or more mild to moderate health concerns. Working with me is not designed to take the place of seeing an integrative doctor or your chosen health practitioner. The way a session begins is you get to share your questions and concerns. After that, I say an opening invocation, which is adapted from something shared with me by my late medicine teacher about 25 years ago. It invites your highest vibrational spirit guides to participate in the session. These may be ancestors, angelic guides, or other benevolent non-physical beings. After the invocation, I let you know which guides want to talk with you and what they have to say. We address your questions and concerns and find resolutions and answers. If there are health issues, we find the root causes of the issues. To learn more about my medical intuitive work, check out the Work With Me page on amyleemercury.com.
Yeah, but eventually, as
it will come. I do think so.
Yeah, and I think we'll metricize it so that people have, like, oh, it's valid. And what if you took your smartphone and then, you put your finger on the light, the camera, and then you say, okay, like, what is my energy now? Let's scan the store. What will match my energy?
Yes.
AI. We can use our intuition. And I think that our intuition can't be neglected in that process. It's like,
absolutely not
needing the information and how do you bring them together for that?
Absolutely. And at the moment, our intuition is probably our best tool on that, combined with the knowledge we gain, because we don't have instruments to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't.
And maybe it would be wonderful, but if we were to get to a point where we could sense these things, would we need it? Maybe not, because then if we're getting to that level, we're coming into greater harmony within our being, within ourselves, with our physical body, and then letting things align.
It's like training wheels. Sometimes our intuition needs training wheels. It's like we have to learn how to trust it.
It does.
Then once we've gotten used to it and we know the signs and signals, then it's like, I don't need the training wheels. I don't need a device. I don't need metrics. I can move to the spirit rather than the sign.
I feel it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Some people, I think, are just naturally more heady. They need more validation, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's just part of the process of being human. And there might be times that we need that a little more than others.
Sometimes we all do. And I love I sort of like study in a very informal way people's brains and the way that we think, feel, behave. And I like to understand, like, what does it feel like to be inside, ourselves or someone else? In some cases, what does that feel like? And with that, the diversity of the human experience, of course, there's similarities, but absolutely, there's going to be some people where it's just going to feel better to have the structure of something, that's more defined and linear. And then some of us might feel constrained by that too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like them both. I think I needed to be born a Libra because it's like I can always see multiple sides.
Yeah.
I can see the aspect of like, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. It's like, I could see the whole. I can actually see like their views. Like we are a united collective in that way.
I've always loved paradoxes, like in math and in life. Like I feel like that it's just so evocative of the experience of being here in duality and all of the fruit and breadth of it and the whole experience of it. And to just like let go into that can be huge for sure.
Definitely. I feel like when we let ourselves kind of play within that and get a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's where some very interesting answers come forward.
Exactly. And for me, that is interesting. For somebody else, that might be like anxiety provoking. For somebody else, it might be boring. I mean, that's one of the things I love about humanity is how diverse we are. We're all so different, and we do have these things about us that are often the same, but I love that we're so different and unique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean,
discovery.
Say again, sorry.
It's endless discovery.
It is an endless discovery. And it's almost like you just have to like see what gets your interest and where you're drawn and then just that. And for me, initially, it was food. It was all things nutrition, trying to figure out the physical matter, figure out what my body needed at that physical level.
Absolutely.
Realizing like, oh, it's not just about the physical. It's also about the emotional attachment I have to about cravings. It's about emotional eating. It's about memories.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, it's not just about emotions. It's about my thoughts. It's about my opinions and perfectionism and criticism around foods and putting foods into mental boxes. And then
all of it.
The spiritual energetic, which is more expansive, that food can be what you impart to it.
Absolutely. And the physiological ramifications of all that too. You know what I mean? Like an experience or a thought or a feeling that decreases our dopamine, and we're in a physiologic state where it might be low because of the time of the month of our cycle. And then the craving, for chocolate comes forward. Is that our best choice? Maybe. I do love chocolate, by the way. But maybe we need essential amino acids. Perhaps if we took some essential amino acids that could give us these building blocks to create some more dopamine, we'd feel better. Or maybe we take both.
And I feel like both is that answer, because a lot of those physical compounds, like you mentioned, dopamine, they're very spiritual, all connected.
They're spiritual.
Like dopamine is found in food. Dopamine is like in our environment. It has a very interesting structure. It's from tyrosine, which has a ring in it, which harness light in a different way than like the carbon-carbon double bond.
I like that the tyrosine has a ring. That's a really good point. As an ADHD person, I have a lot of tyrosine thoughts and strategies. It's interesting because I need a little extra.
Well, amino acids are really key because of the building blocks of so much of our physical being, like how we think, our behavior, how we act, and also like our hair, skin, and nails. Lysine is an important one also to help with the immune system, and I think very underrated. And what's interesting is that a lot of these amino acids, they compete with each other. So you have to like give them their own time.
Oh, interesting.
So if you want tyrosine to get in, or tryptophan or lysine, many times you have to take it in supplemental.
So not in a complex, because then it's competing with the
others. Because they're
interesting.
Just like minerals do the same thing. There's a competition between minerals, calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc. There's
absolutely
for binding. So if you really, and it's best to work with a practitioner on that.
Of course.
The amino acids, you can change a lot of things with amino acids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially medications, and depending on what people are on. And then if you do something supplemental, it can start to change that up.
Absolutely. Such a good point, though. All these different physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and beyond facets of everything, which just comes back to that everything's alive. In my book,
really
in some of my
conscious, absolutely consciousness. Somebody had asked me if they had any dietary restrictions because we were going to a restaurant. He said, "How do you eat?" And I said, "Conscious." Just give me conscious food that has had love or
absolutely
right. That preparation is so important.
That is really key, and it's an interesting journey to eat that way. That's basically how I eat. I mean, I just feel what my body wants, needs.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to find where does that match up where you are geographically and with whom you're dining and all those pieces. So it's another piece of that diversity of life too, I think.
It's true. A lot of different inputs to kind of gather in that intuitive algorithm for output. Like, oh, I need this.
Absolutely. I know you have your whole book on food additives too, and I wanted to just do a few minutes on that because I think it's so key, and I just want us to be able to educate ourselves more and more. So what would you say to us around food additives generally from like the physical, dietetic side, but also the spiritual, energetic, emotional, mental? Just, what would you want to share with our listeners about that?
I would say to veer away from the foods that are comprised of food additives, right? Yeah. There's a new term, which is ultra processed food. It's not even processed food, but ultra processed, where the food is just an amalgamation of so many different ingredients and additives
Yes.
So shopping the perimeter of a store, making sure that you are buying away from, just simplify, not having all of these different ingredients. One of the things that I see in the market would be like a vegan cheese. Where I see like, oh, people want that sensation of cheese. But when you read that list of like a vegan type cheese, it's like this, and it's like got everything in there. And, it's kind of like you have to figure out like your why. Why do you eat in a certain way? And I'm not a dietary dogma person. So it's like, I'm not into paleo, keto, vegan, vegetarian.
Same. None of it.
It's just, where's your energy at? What you need. But the additives, I mean, many of them are synthesized. And when you start putting them together in a human-like way, we don't know about all the different reactions. We don't know how the gut microbiome is responding.
Absolutely.
And one of the biggest food additives that I think are problematic would be artificial sweeteners, synthetic sweeteners.
Yes.
Seeing disruption, like in terms of studies, like science showing changes to the gut microbiome, changes to the changes to, and once you start changing up your gut, that means you're changing a lot. You're changing the brain. You're changing the body.
Those neurotransmitters we were talking about, everything.
Yes. Definitely a portal to that as well. So when it comes to food additives, I would say less is more.
Yeah.
The
sweetener question. We know, the sucralose, the Splenda, the aspartame, we know those are just ultra damaging. And if you don't know, that's something to research. How do you feel about the quote unquote healthier, the stevia, the monk fruit, the erythritol? What do you think about it?
Not ideal.
Not ideal even then.
Because they're better choices than something that is chemicalized. But, you have to look at the taste receptors, and you've got your taste receptors up here with monk fruit, stevia, and the sugar alcohols, they're up here. Whereas if we were to have whole foods, we bring our taste receptors down here.
Absolutely.
So up here. So they still keep us priming and calling for things that are overly
sweeter.
I do think, everything to me is a spectrum. So on that spectrum of sweeteners, if we had artificial sweeteners over here, that's like moving along the spectrum towards a whole food based. Yes. So I would say that's better. It's on a spectrum of decide what would be best. And for some people, I still do things with stevia.
I do, because I do enjoy the sweet, and I try to not go over the top. It's interesting because if I do go a little over the top of it, I begin to taste it after the fact for too long. And the stevia. And I say, okay, so that's too much. And we don't need to be like, screwing up my insulin with it. I know it's not as much, but it's still going to create a little bit of that resistance. It appears. So that gives me a cue, like, hey, you don't need to put stevia on everything. Just relax and like have a piece of fruit and calm down.
I think, and if you want fruit or if you want something sweet, one of the ways to reduce the glycemic impact is to have something with protein or fat together with it.
Yeah.
That you don't get that huge spike of glucose and then a huge drop, which in place of being sluggish. So
absolutely.
I think you can have a banana, have with a little bit of almond butter or, depending on how people eat, but
whatever you like.
Something protein or a little bit of avocado with it because you don't have fat.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really good tip too. I'm so glad we got to chat. I feel like we could talk for hours.
I know. We have definitely connected in with each other and with Chris. So delightful to meet you.
I'm so glad. And tell our listeners where they can find you, your website, your social handles, everything.
Sure. My website is easy. It's my name, DeannaMinich.com. And on that site, you'll see everything like the blog. I have a bunch of, this might be of interest for your listeners. I have a bunch of free downloads.
Oh, they'll love it.
At the top, there's something that says resources. You click on resource and you'll see downloads.
Yes.
Of stuff there, like an Eat the Way toolkit, shopping lists, all kinds of stuff. So just help yourself.
I love it. Everybody go find Dr. Deanna Minich. And is your Instagram your name?
It is my name. Yeah.
Yeah. I stick with my name. Okay, good. I think it's fun if we're going to scroll social, let's at least like look at things that are beautiful and helpful. And Dr. Minich's Instagram is absolutely that. So I enjoy it.
So much.
I enjoy it. And thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you all for listening to Happily Holistic. Thank you so much for listening to Happily Holistic. I'm so glad you were here today. If you'd like to find my new book, The Healing Home, a room-by-room guide to positive vibes, you can find it everywhere books are sold, on IndieBound, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon.com, and on my website, amyleemccree.com. If you've ever wanted to tap into your intuition and learn how to talk to your spirit guides, as well as deepen your understanding of the entire unseen world, join my membership, Intuitive U, short for Intuitive University, where you receive an entire year or monthly, every single month, 2 live channelings, including a question and answer with me. I will be doing channelings, many guides, many guards, many goddesses. Plus you get my healing tools, recipes, meditations, affirmations, and much more. If you would like to go deeper in a healing home session with me one-on-one, you can find that at amyleemccree.com under sessions. And if you'd like one of my signature medical intuitive sessions, find me on amyleemccree.com under sessions. Also, come visit me on Instagram at amyleemccree and see what I'm up to. I hope you have a beautiful day and enjoy all of the wonder that this world offers. Thank you for listening to Happily Holistic.